So, what exactly does the federal government's Department of the Interior do?
Well, they must take care of buffalo.
That is American bison. Well, yeah, they do that. But they do a little more than that. They take care of the interior. Huh? The interior. Huh? You mean like... Oh, national parks. What a concept. A national park. Like the park belongs to the nation, the federal government. We the people, all of us. And the government takes care of the parks for our benefit. Why should government be in the park caretaking business? This is what we're going to find out. I want to know. Everybody wants to know. Curious minds want to know. So, you know, you can have a volcano and they'll take care of it. Part of our interior, you know. Lava, lava. Craters. Explosions. But what about the preservation of culture? Not to mention wildlife. So, the government, a function of government, ought to be taking care of wild critters, wild plants, wild lava flows, wild volcano, and protecting national ethnic cultural heritage, including sacred places like Mauna Kea. We're going to look into this a little further. So one gets to thinking, if they're taking care of the interior of this exterior, they have to take care of roads and stuff too, don't they? Make signs, all those sorts of things. Right, we're approaching the visitors' gate. We'll sneak up right on them and get through. Fasten your seatbelts. We did it. Made it. Of course, if you're going to have a national park, you have to have national park visitors. And that means you have to have a national park parking lot for the visitors who come and drive and sometimes walk and do other things and recreate. And if you have a national park, you have to have a national park visitors center, but of course. So you got to build a visitor center, and of course this visitor center that you just saw that we're now visiting, virtual visitation that is, was built by the CCC. The what? The CCC, Franklin Delano Roosevelt Civilian Conservation Corps, in the Great Depression as part of a public works program. So your federal tax dollars at work then, giving you this visitor center here and now. I don't know, maybe the New Deal was a pretty good deal, huh? Federal tax dollars at work. Yes, a function of government. Sometimes known as socialism. Socialism. Of course, you have to have a lot of people taking care of things like making maps and letting you know that you are here. Here's where you are, I am, or we are, sort of, and generally where this is relative to other places that are not here, which is where we are, which is here. The map, lots of map makers. So inside the visitor center we find a hub of human activity, a veritable beehive of people, telling people about what things that they can do and see, learn about in our protected oh, and look, there's a gift shop too. So this is what we're learning about, see? All this information. Our tax dollars at work.
And ask her question.
So here's ranger naturalist Rebecca Carvalho. Say that again. Carvalho. And this is ranger naturalist
Kanoa
Severson. Hello, Kanoa. How you doing? And this is you're a volunteer. It says volunteer.
It does.
Your name is George Jensen. By God, George Jensen. We won't make any George Jetson jokes. Bad.
I've heard them all.
So Rebecca, what are you going to be doing in just a couple minutes?
I'm going to be leading a hike called Exploring the Summit, and it's a 45-minute hike, and I introduce some of the native Hawaiian plants, talk about the geology of the volcano, and introduce the Hawaiian culture.
Interesting. So you work for the federal government of the United States?
Yes.
You know, this is no lie. About 3 weeks ago up in Yosemite, I met the only federal park service or federal employee who is licensed to drive a stagecoach. That was kind of crazy. It was up in Wawona, Yosemite. But you just lead hikes, and so why do you think this is a good thing or a necessary thing for government to do?
Oh, you want to drink?
Help acknowledge the fact that we do have a problem here with invasive species. How do we protect our ecosystems here? So we're actually doing our hikes, kind of letting everyone in this world know what we're doing, what the problem is, because a lot of people don't even know that we have a problem with our ecosystems here.
Okay.
In order to kind of preserve it, we're just getting the word out there that our national parks are doing stuff to get rid of the invasives and kind of preserve our ecosystems, and it's showing that it's working.
So you're in the environmental protection business, sort of like, so that's a function of the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency as well. But you're in the recreation and tourism business. So, George, you have some ideas about this.
We're not in the recreational and tourism business. We are a destination, yes, that the tourism industry uses, but we're not into that business.
But they could be doing this without a national park service. This could be left over to the private business sector.
Private business sector would be exploiting it for every nickel they can get out of it, which is just counterproductive to the protection of the park.
For its natural wonders and for not
for people to enjoy for generations to come.
Based upon a concept that goes back to the 1880s, Teddy Roosevelt, John Muir, and on all those conservationists. So the idea is that even if you don't have any money, as long as you can get here, you got to pay $10 to come in a car, but you're not paying for the hike, you're not paying a toll to drive around, you're not paying for parking, you're not paying to come into the visitor center, you're not paying to talk to a ranger or volunteer. Okay, excellent. Well, I might just go on that hike, see what we can see. This is your high-tech national park. Virtual park experiences. With real live park rangers. Touch screen. And like you said, preserving culture, not a touch screen. We're finding more victims that volunteers. Speaking of volunteers, I found a volunteer. This is park naturalist, park ranger.
Yes.
Deanne Thornton. She's a native of Hawaii, the big island of Hawaii in the state of Hawaii. And so I have to ask you, Hawaii, did you become a park naturalist?
Well, I was a senior in high school, and my teacher, my human phys teacher, Miss Stout, she told me about the job and how they were hiring youth from the Kīlauea and Puna district. So she told me to apply, and I did. And what we had to do was we had to go through 8 weeks of training, and then we did that, and then we had to go through a big interview process. And after the big interview, then we got hired.
Sweet deal. So what were your specialty studies in high school?
Well, growing up, my parents really raised me to be tied to environment, so I had that, and then I really did love human phys and English, so that was my favorite subjects, and world history.
And world history, good stuff. So you just graduated high school. Congratulations.
Yes.
You guys watching this video, you haven't achieved that yet. Some of you will. No, all of you will. You better. But we'll deal with that later. So what was the best thing in your or the most significant thing in your high school experience that turned that button, clicked that button in your head and you just said, I'm going to do this?
Well, growing up, I did a lot of culture programs. My sophomore year, I got involved with this program called Napua No'eau, and it's a summer institute that I got to dorm at Hilo, one of the local colleges we have here. And I realized that what I wanted to do the rest of my life was work with native plants and do environmental science, that kind of thing, environmental studies. So after I did that program, I realized how special the plants are here because you can't find them nowhere else in the world. Like, they're only endemic here, you only can find them here. So for me, I feel like I should be one of those people who's a part of keeping them alive and making sure they stay here for future generations.
So now your calling is your career.
Yes,
And
environmental
where do you go
science.
from here?
From here, I'm gonna go off the islands for the first time. I'm gonna go to Northern Arizona University and study environmental science.
And you'll get a bachelor's?
My
science?
bachelor's, my plan is to get my bachelor's in environmental science, come back here to Hawaii, stay here, and go to graduate school at Hilo.
Okay,
Yeah.
and do you plan to work for the Park Service after that, or don't
I'm
know
not
yet?
sure, maybe. I'm kind of looking towards the whole botany kind of thing. Yeah, so.
Cool deal.
Yeah.
Let my kids see your badge. I'll explain that.
Oh, yeah,
See,
okay. So this is our badge.
a National Park Service badge. It's
Yeah.
real. It's legit. She's a ranger.
Yeah, woohoo!
The blacks, 'cause
I'm
they
only
lost.
18, so it's a good
She's
job.
Yay.
Yeah, yeah.
So Kanoa here is a college student currently, and also another National Park Service ranger. Tell the kids, how'd you get to become a ranger? Why'd you want to become a ranger?
Well, my main thing was I wanted to protect this forest. How are we going to keep our endemism protected here in Hawaii? You know, noticing that all our invasive species are leading to whole ecosystem collapses, whole habitat losses. We're actually the extinction capital of the world, so I wanted to do my part. How best are we going to do to kind of protect our forests here, or the remainder that we have left? So luckily, my boss here came to the college looking for students, college students, to come work at the park to help him save the world, let people know what's going on here. So of course, I applied, interviewed, I got accepted, lucky me. So I'm just a summer intern right now, going to University of Hawaii at Hilo. Just finished my 3rd year, going on my senior year in environmental science. Hopefully gonna graduate this year. But yeah, still learning a lot about our ecosystems here.
Plan to stay with the Park Service after you graduate?
Oh, I wouldn't mind actually. Yeah. But any job that works with preserving and protecting reforestation, conservation, anything to help that out, more than happy to work.
And that's part of your job description. That's part of the function of government.
Yeah, exactly.
In your field.
So we do have a whole division that takes care of resource management, and then we are interpreters. So we tell the visitors what the resource management is doing and how it's working actually. So we show the results, the good results, the positive results, and we let them know on the bad things that's happening here.
So you're kind of applying science into a social capacity.
Yes. Yeah, as well as putting in a little Hawaiian culture so they respect the environment as well.
Okay, so that, I noticed inside the visitor center there's this beautiful picture of native Hawaiians standing over the crater,
Yes.
you know, sacred place.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about how the Park Service here preserves culture, not just plants and animals, well, human animals.
So this volcano was always viewed as a sacred place. So now that it turned into a national park, it just seems like just a little visiting spot. So a lot of people don't realize that it is sacred ground here. So we need to kind of just open up with Oli, kind of just let them know that we believe in a sacred goddess here that controls our volcano. Our volcano here is real unique in the fact that, you know, there's 2 eruptions on one volcano. Geologists said it was impossible. So in Hawaiian culture over here, we're kind of getting you to realize the Hawaiian culture, the spiritual side of everything, and how we are willing to protect this park here. Does that make sense? I'm kind of just blabbering earlier.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Spiritual, but not in a religious way.
Yeah, not in a we don't want to convert anyone. We just want them to realize how we think, our perspective on how we would take care of our land. Because our ancestors, if you realize, that Hawaiian Ahupua'a system, that was actually one of 5 systems that was known to be 100% sustainable. So that's pretty neat. So now we're trying to get back into the culture, get back, you know, going green. Everyone wants to go green, but the Hawaiian culture was already green. They were
original
already
greens.
there. They were the original greens. So right now, we're kind of trying to direct our path back to there. And again, kind of like the Native Americans, we do believe in a spiritual realm. kind of the phenomenons that we can't explain scientifically. So just
And you're a scientist.
yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be a lifelong learning thing.
Yeah, I
Getting
learn
those
something
those
every
two
day.
domains to come together, or maybe it's one domain and we make an artificial separation. Don't know. We're getting a little heady there.
I know.
Did they make you study national park history or anything like that?
Briefly, yeah.
Stephen T. Mather, the founding father, kind of
real
stuff.
brief in our training here.
Yeah.
And then they take us out in the forest, tell us all about the native plants, because we have a lot of endemic species here. Some that are endemic to this island, some that are endemic to this park. So we got really rare species here that if we don't do something about it to protect them, they'll be extinct. And then no new generation can, acknowledge the fact that this was there. Now again, because you respect the forest, Hawaiians actually found a use for almost every single plant. That's why they kind of respected the forest and the culture.
Sort of like American Indians or the Native Americans with the bison. Every single part of that animal was used like in 270 different ways.
Right. So we're really similar here. Yeah.
Fantastic.
We're trying to keep our culture alive.
So the kids watching this right now are 17, going on 18, some are 18. One thing, you've been through high school, you're getting close to graduating college. They haven't quite gone where you are right now and where you're going on from here. What do you say to those guys about next year and so forth?
Just gotta find your passion and stick with it, because my passion is the rainforest. If you just stick with your passion, it'll all connect. You'll find your connections, you'll find the reason why you're working, basically. So the next step is continue school. There's a lot of knowledge, a lot of information on this planet that you need to go and gain and obtain, and you learn everything. You learn something new every day. There's always something to learn.
Are you saying learn for the sake of learning and knowledge and not just to get grades?
Yeah, right. You gotta learn for your whole life. That's a scientist's job, is learning for your whole career.
And you heard it first here, kids.
Yeah.
Well, not first, and won't be the last time either. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one. Yeah. Aloha, ahui ho.
So, the Park Service is even in the movie business. Let's go to the movies. I decided to hike up here for you guys to give you a first-hand view of this lava. Still erupting. Thought you'd like to see it, So, I'm standing here at the foot of the crater. Just pretty hot, but okay, that's all I can do. Just kidding, but I do need to reflect upon this whole notion of preserving native habitat, as well as native culture and native species. Nay, birds. Why is that a function of government? And so what does preserving and restoring habitat mean? It means cutting out non-native invasive species and replacing them with the natural stuff. Your Park Service at work. Function of government, you see. Your government saved the silver sword, an extinct or nearly extinct volcanic growing plant. Good job, guys. Oh, we'll do a little trek into the outback, the bush. Functions of government. Sometimes the rangers tell people to go and pet the trees. Tree petting is becoming a particularly increasing social activity. Traffic control inside the fern forest as our park naturalist goes to arrange to see if we can get safe passage past the tree cutters. Yeah, even gotta have electricity in a national park. Beautiful flower, but a non-native invasive species to be eradicated. Takes about 2 years to wipe this out. A function of government getting rid of non-native invasive plants. Preserved, protected, and even managed. Plumbed, free from fire. So if you stop and think about it for a minute or two, who owns all these trees, these ferns, this roadway, this forest? We do. Who owns the volcano we're going to see? We do. Why? Because the Department of the Interior, National Park Service, under the federal government of the United States, has assumed this to be a legitimate, necessary and proper function of government. Of course, by now you guys have all figured out many times one of their functions is to keep us safe, keep us from hurting ourselves in the event of a volcanic pothole wiping out a road.
Took over. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. So what we decided to do is that we're going to girdle the trees, make a little cutting in the bark so it causes it to die. We also poison it. And then the leaves will fall off and hopefully they'll heal. We'll grow fast enough to outshade it and survive. And then the final tree won't grow. But it's an ongoing battle and it looks like this. It kind of sometimes...
So, more to the main point, after the forests and whatnot, and we get to, look out! Look out! Oh, look out. I see. I see.
Alright.
We'll find out more.
It didn't get completely wiped out.
Holy cow.
Daddy, everything right. Daddy.
You got this, Dave. I'm going to use it.
Long, 2 miles wide, and then we have a magma reservoir about 3 to 5 miles beneath our feet. And we're kind of standing on the edge, so that drop is 425 feet deep. Please do not jump over it. Okay. And then in the caldera, we have Halema'uma'u Crater, and in the crater we have a hole that popped open in 2008. Just went boom. Okay. It started off as a really small hole, only 100 feet wide. It's now 600 feet wide. Wow. Picture a football stadium, bleachers and everything. It could swallow it whole. That's not there anymore. It collapsed.
Sulfur dioxide.
It erupted in 2008. So that's why. And then the DI event, deflation and inflation. It's kind of basically how the volcano breathes. So if it's inflating, there's an increase in pressure and so it's tilts upwards. Deflation, it's letting go and it's going that way.
Scientific equipment monitoring the SO2 sulfur dioxide levels emanating from the volcano.
So that's why we're
Part of your government scientific park service
fumes are
at work.
pointing in the other direction. So it's just probably just low enough that the plant can survive, and then if the smoke came this way,
They'll close it out.
they'll close up, and then by the time it turns around,
So sometimes we get freak trade winds and it'll actually blow towards Dagger Museum. So there's some trees over there that grow and I'm pretty sure they'll close it. And then sometimes it blows all the way to the visitor center over here too.
Close that museum down if the SO2 gets too toxic.
these ferns are
We're back with Rebecca. So, the big cloud of sulfur dioxide.
Yes.
You were talking with that gentleman about monitoring. We have monitors down there on the floor that detect the levels of toxicity in the wind directions.
Yes.
So, what else is going on here in terms of scientific study that A, helps people understand the geological, and B, keeps folks like us safe?
Well, the main thing how they're monitoring is, so usually our scientists over here, they'll actually drive the road that's closed in their car, and they have this big SO2 gas monitor, and they'll see how much gas is being produced. So currently right now it's 700 tons of SO2 gas. And then along the edges, they'll have like tilt monitors, how the volcano essentially breathes in and out. So the DI events, so when we have DI events, usually the lava lake drops, the flows down at Pu'ua, they get back into the air, and then inflation, new breakouts, the lava lake higher, and then the glow is much more awesome.
So if something were to just start shaking and erupting, you had a lava event,
Yes.
would this park be evacuated? Like,
More
get
than
everybody
likely.
out of here
yes,
ASAP?
Yes, I've talked to, during my 2 weeks of training before I became an interpretive ranger, we had a very intensive training about all the geology in this park. And Dr. Don Swanson was saying, so when Kilauea erupts, it's actually pretty explosive, and he says the next explosive event, it'd probably wipe out the park and the volcano village.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'd kind of like to see this national park preserved. You know, there was a bunch of other stuff you had to do on this trip to keep people safe. What else? What were some of the other safety things you had to do?
Safety.
Like keep us from falling over, going over rails.
You want to stay on the trails. Definitely on the trails. You don't go off the trails. I was talking about the ule fern. It likes to grow in holes and cracks, and so you know there's a hole and crack if you see the ule fern. So don't want to fall into
Keep
that.
us from falling into craters. Keep us from falling into holes. Now, what if somebody picks a native plant in this national park?
So we have a different division for that. So right now I'm in division of interpretation, so I help interpret the park for visitors. Division of protections, they're all about please don't go over here. And you either get fined, I don't know if they arrest you, I'm not too sure about that, but I know you get a big fine. We also, we have volcano dispatch. I have a walkie-talkie, so if I see someone being unsafe, I usually call volcano dispatch, and I either send in eruption crew or division of protection, or law enforcement. Actually, we have a division.
So you guys are just you're keeping us safe, you're keeping us educated, you're
Yes.
keeping us recreated.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
see, that's all that function of government stuff.
So yeah, it's cool. Huh? Aloha.
So you're all probably great with the fact that you have a National Park Service that shows you around, takes care of you when you're in a beautiful wonderland, and educates, preserves, protects, provides for public safety, all that good stuff. But what about if the government agency seems to have, or is leaning towards, well, a political agenda, a political argument? You know, greenhouse gases and global warming, the big political controversy. Most climatologists, most scientists say that global warming is a function of man-made greenhouse gases and all of that business. A few others, minority, deny that. And of course, the two great political parties of this country continue to debate whether or not we should or should not have legislation to monitor greenhouse gases and minimize and eliminate them. But the question is the National Park Service taking a political position? And if so, is that okay? Inculcating our little children into environmentalism? Oh my God, it'll be world peace next. We'll just leave you that friendly little thought. Aloha. And now, your United States Geological Survey at work. USGS scientists use this tower to monitor seismic activity and other atmospheric activity in the Kilauea Crater. Sulfur dioxide is poisonous. Should this cloud drift this way, we'll be forced to evacuate. Includes not so. Take your pick.
Yes, sir.
And now, let's check the seismometer. If it moves significantly, an eruption could be imminent. Ha ha ha. Just fooling with ya. Check out this bank of seismometers. All you geologists, you rockheads. And it's our very own. Ooh. And now you know what the USGS does. At least a little bit. Aloha. And to think that one of the first things President George W. Bush wanted to do was to eliminate the USGS level that all steamed up. Just made a little defense about this. You know, maybe it is a good thing we have a National Park Service that kind of keeps it accessible to all of us. Because the alternative would be good old private enterprise would have the exclusive take on the whole business.